A very sunny, beautiful fall morning to you all, and welcome back to Firewood at the Furnace. We just got back from the Paul Bunyan Show yesterday, and man, what a great time it was. Exactly what we expect, and even a little bit more this year. It's the greatest show of the season as far as I'm concerned. Lots of people, lots of equipment, and a really, really good time. Now, I went in a day earlier this year to Paul Bunyan. Went in on Thursday so I could be at the show on Friday this year, which I haven't done the past 2 years. That gave me an opportunity to kind of walk around and see the show on Friday. And on Saturday, I spent the majority of the day at the Eastonmade booth, which afforded me an opportunity to get to meet a whole lot of you this year. In the past, some people have told me that, we just didn't cross paths at the show. I'm moving around, everybody else is moving around. But being able to be at the booth most of the day on Saturday, I got to meet, I think, more people this year than I have at any other show that I've been to, which was really, really neat. Put names with faces and have some conversations. So it was a really good time. But now that we're back, it's back to the grind. And as you can see, the wood continues to come in. I told some people at the show that in the past I've been, when I would go to the tree service job, I would take the dump trailer and I would be able to get a load of logs, which equaled about one full cord that I would bring back to the yard and process. Well, now that the grapple truck's in service, when I go to the job, I get 3 or 4 cord of logs on that truck and bring it back to the yard to process. So I'm getting about 3 or 4 times more wood in a load, and I've got a little bit less time to process the wood. So it's piling up here, and we're going to get to that here soon. But next week, once we start bucking up this wood, you're going to get to see something that I brought home from the show this year that might make processing the wood a little bit different. We're going to experiment a little bit and see if it works out, but we do have something new to try out, and we're going to get to that on next week's video. But today, we've got 1/3 of a cord to deliver to a return customer, and we are continuing the transition in the yard. When I was in the police academy, I learned a process that they use when they're trying to rebuild people or reprogram people, change their mindset, change their attitudes, change their personality even a little bit. And that process they use is something they call break you down and build you up. And when you're trying to adjust a mindset, I think that process works really well. And I'm kind of relating that to what I'm doing here in the yard. We are breaking this down so that we can build it up. And I'm going to show you that here in just a minute, so stick around. So we've got a pile of logs laying here. We've got a pile of logs laying over there. And the yard at the tree service is, well, it has probably about 5 or 6 times this much wood laying in it, waiting for me to bring to the yard. We do sell a few loads of log length firewood stuff, but a lot of that wood over there is going to be coming to this yard because once we get these bins set up, we're going to be able to process a lot quicker because we will no longer be stacking, as you know. Now, as far as breaking down to build it up, here's this row getting all broke down. This row is all the wood on this row has already been delivered for this year, and we're breaking into this row with deliveries now too. But now that this row is empty, we can start the process of eliminating it. I've got the pallets kind of piled up. We'll move them out of the way and get rid of them with the skid loader. Starting to rake up some of the scraps and trash here, and Mom will have a little more grass to mow. There's still a 1/2 cord up here at the end of this row. It's going to be delivered probably either tomorrow or the next day. It's already ordered, and that's a 1/2 cord, so it'll be going out here soon. But like I said, when we start processing this wood, I'm going to be able to show you something a little different than we've ever done here in the past, and just see how it works out. We will test it out, try it out, and learn together what works best. Well, you'll have to come back next week to see all that. For right now, we are going to get Little Red Riding Wood over here and start loading up 1/3 of cord. So I personally didn't make a video of the show because I know that the platform will be flooded with some really good content from the Paul Bunyan Show. So I figured I would just talk to you a little bit about what I experienced and what I saw, and if you want to see it, you can certainly check out some of the other great channels that will have a lot of good content from it. But like I said, every year the people that come to the show is my favorite part, and meeting those faces. The show did expand some this year. It was definitely larger, more spread out, and there was even some vendors like kind of on the outskirts of the show, kind of outside of the inner ring and the outer ring that they normally have. And unfortunately, it looked to me like a lot of those vendors didn't get anywhere near the amount of traffic that the rest of the show was receiving. So I think, you know, it's something new they did this year. They expanded a little bit. I did hear that there's a waiting list for vendors next year. So the show is definitely growing. Without a doubt, it's getting bigger and bigger every year. But one cool thing I did see is Eastonmade unveiled their new electric bundle wrapper. And I'll show you a picture of it to you right here on the screen. It's the first one that's been in production. They are taking orders for them now, and it looks to be a really solid unit with some features that the other ones don't have. You know, it wraps itself. It can be pre-programmed. If you want to wrap your bundle 4 times, 5 times, whatever you want, you just push the button one time and it automatically wraps the number of wraps that you desire. That was something new and cool to see at the show. But yeah, back to breaking it down and building it up. Time has been my enemy this year from many angles. Not only obviously because of the grapple truck, but because of the time that I lost after last year's fellowship, kind of fixing the yard up after the mud bog that we had. I lost about 9, maybe even 10 weeks of processing time waiting for that to dry out so that I could at least work again in the yard. And then of course we dug a lot of dirt out and hauled all the stone in. So my production this year was not as great as I had envisioned it to be, or even a little less than it has been in years in the past. So that's part of my reason why I'm moving away from stacking and moving to bins. But on that same note, a lot of the questions that I received at the Paul Bunyan Show this year had to do with the fellowship. If we were going to do it again, and when we were going to do it, and new people that hadn't been able to make it that want to come. So I have made up my mind that I am definitely going to host the fellowship again. However, it's not going to be the same time of year. We've had it in January, at the end of January, or maybe even the beginning of February 2 years ago. I can't quite remember. But I'm going to push it back a little bit, maybe more towards spring. April, maybe around end of March, beginning of April maybe, and hope for some better weather. It doesn't mean we're going to get it, but we'll at least hope for it. Now the problem with that is that Andrew Easton and his family won't be coming through, and I'm not sure if he'll be able to make it or not. That's something I'll have to talk with him about and find out. But I'm sure Jeff and Patty will be here, and between those of us that are very familiar with Eastonmade products, we should be able to answer a lot of questions for you and show you a lot of different features. But maybe he will be able to come. We've always had it in January because that's when he travels through, so that he can stop by with his family on the way south. So for those of you who are wondering, yes, we are going to have it. I don't have a date ironed out yet, but it's going to be a little bit later in the season. We'll get this loaded, I'll speed you up, and we'll get it delivered. So you all have been to this delivery location with me before. It's a really good customer that I supply his rental home with firewood for his tenants, his renters. But I wanted to talk to you a little more about my plan moving forward. Like I told you earlier, my production this year wasn't as much as normal. I normally do 40 to 50 cord a year, full cord. And this year I ended up doing somewhere between 30 and 40. So I missed a little bit due to the what we talked about earlier. But moving forward, now that I'm not going to be stacking my wood, I feel like I can split another cord of wood in the time that it would normally have taken me to stack that cord. So I'm actually thinking about trying to increase production now. The wood is coming in quicker. And you might be saying, well, Brad, you're working with the same tree service. Why are you getting more wood now than you did before? And while I could have gotten more wood than I did before, the reason I didn't is because when I show up to the job with my trailer and I get a load of wood, they don't have time for me to wait for me to go back, dump that load of wood, come back, get another load of wood. Time is money for the tree service. So while I'm gone, they're chipping away. I mean, they're chipping firewood. You all have seen that before in the videos and even commented on that before in the videos. But now that I've got a bigger truck to pick up wood from them, they don't have to chip as much and I can take more at one time. So that's why I'm getting such an increase of wood. I can be more selective of the logs that I bring to my yard. Like I said, I am selling some log length stuff. But obviously I get first choice on those logs. So the nice, straight, long ones, they come to my yard. So I would like to increase this year my production. I would really like to say I'm gonna do 60 to 75 cord, full cord. Because it's starting right now, this time of year, and it's already happened to me twice since I've been back from Paul Bunyan. When I get to field telephone calls, voicemails, and Facebook messages of people looking for firewood, and I have to tell them no. So I figure if I can try to increase my production, have more available, that's a win for everybody, right? I don't have to tell people no, and I get to sell more firewood. So we'll finish stacking this wood. I'll show you the end product. We'll get this all filled up for him. Then we'll head back to the yard. All right, truck's empty. And he's got his rack filled back up again. It's a good 6.5 foot tall there. So a good bit of wood that'll last him a while. Fall season, I'm sure the renters are burning some nice fires along the water here in the evenings. So we'll get the body down and get back to the yard. All right, we're back from that delivery. I'm gonna go ahead and get the forks on this skid loader and start moving these pallets out, clean up that row a little bit, make it look a little nicer since it is no more. We are turning the page, a new chapter here at Firewood at the Furnace. I know some of you at the show were anxious to see how these bins were going to work out and the transition of the yard. So stay tuned. That is a work in progress and we are underway. So that's it for today. I hope you all enjoyed that. Thanks for joining us. We will see you back here next Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. and I hope you all have a great week. Take care.